I never expected the night I saved a billionaire's son to be the night he nearly destroyed my life, but that's how it went. And if you've ever been sized up in 1 second by someone who never bothered to know you, you know what I mean. It was January at Hale Ridge, his glass and stone place in the Vermont woods, so cold, the windows hummed so quiet, the only loud thing was money, and I was exactly what that kind of house likes its workers to be. Invisible, reliable, easy to forget. My name is Camille Brooks. I cleaned their mess, carried their secrets out in trash bags, walked soft, so people like Ethan Hale could pretend perfect just happened. And that night, I was rolling a cart of towels down the east wing when I heard this thin, rattling sound, not TV, not laughter, just teeth knocking against teeth. Leo's door was cracked. Leo Hale, 5 years old, pale, autistic Whales and Constellations kid, hated loud voices, and the second I pushed that door open, my lungs locked. Because the heater was dead, the latch on the window snapped, snow crawling across the floor, the air colder than outside. He was curled on top of the covers, shaking so hard. The bed frame tapped the wall, lips going blue, fingers stiff, and all I could hear was my dad from his ambulance, nights in Detroit, saying, "Cold doesn't argue, Millie. It just takes." I call his name soft, nothing. I checked the dead intercom they never fixed because no one important used it. The hall phone, they'd quietly disconnected the door that sticks since maintenance touched it, and I realized no one is coming. It's just me and this freezing boy in a house with 6 fireplaces. So I do what I know. I pull the comforter down, slide him gently onto the rug, away from the draft, wrap him tight, lie down behind him, press my chest against his back, arms around him, using my body like a heater, counting breaths, whispering, "Stay with me, kid." While the wind punches through the broken latch, it blows the window wider. I lay him down, run to it, slam it till metal bites my forearm, blood hot on my skin, finally get it to click, shout down the hallway for help, no answer, and go right back to the floor, because when a child is slipping like that, you don't go looking for permission. That's the moment the door flies open, and I hear, "Camille, what the hell are you doing with my son?" And everything flips. Ethan Hale stands there, all height and control, taking one snapshot. Black Maid on the floor, white child in her arms, blood-broken latch. And I can see it land wrong before I even open my mouth. He was freezing the heaters out the window. I start, but he's already on me, grabbing my shoulder, ripping me off Leo so hard, my elbow hits the baseboard. Leo whimpers and reaches for me, and Ethan steps between us like I'm the danger. "Get away from him," he barks, and when I say I saved him, he fires back. "You break into my son's room, there's blood, a broken window," and I'm supposed to believe that. He calls security. They hesitate because they can see exactly what he refuses to. But his name signs their checks, so they haul me out while he scoops his son up like some tragic hero. That happened. They dump me on a bench outside the butler's office, toss a towel at my arm, leave me there, like evidence, and upstairs I hear the doctor arrive. Doors slamming, voices sharp, while I'm thinking, this is exactly how girls like me get written into the wrong story. When Ethan finally comes down, he's still wired. "Why didn't you call anyone?" he snaps. I tell him, "Intercom's dead, hall phone's cut, door jammed. Heater broken, your son was blue. I chose to keep him breathing instead of chasing a dial tone." The house doctor steps out behind him and says, "If she hadn't used body heat, we'd be in the ER. She did exactly right." And for a second, he falters. But before he can say anything, Meredith Shaw glides in, estate manager, queen of optics, and says, "For the family's protection, we should let Camille go quietly before anyone misreads what happened." She doesn't even look at me, just speaks over me. Ethan says, "I'll handle it," and disappears, which usually means you're gone. Next morning, he calls everyone to the library, all that dark wood and old money breathing down our necks, and lays it out calm but hard. Leo's room near freezing, no one checked for 6 hours. Security rounds, faked reports, signed and ignored. People stare at the carpet. Then he says, "One person went in and acted. Camille. The doctor says she likely saved my son's life." And Meredith's smile dies. "Then she was almost fired to protect appearances. That will not happen here. Meredith, your keys." She laughs, realizes he means it, drops them, walks out, and the power balance in that house shifts an inch. Then he turns to me in front of everyone. "Camille, I want you to stay. Officially. You won't be punished here for protecting my son." I say, "If I stay when I say something's wrong, you listen. I'm not invisible." He nods, and that's the first time I see him choose something harder than his pride. He moves me from the basement to a small room next to Leo's sunlight instead of pipes, and Leo, this kid who doesn't trust easy, starts sleeping. If he knows I'm close, starts eating. When I sit at the table, starts slipping his hand into mine. When the house buzzes too loud. Ethan notices he softens when Leo calls me Cam. And for a moment, it feels like maybe this story is just about a man learning not to see me as a threat. Then an envelope shows up. No return address, just a photo of me in the snow with Leo on my hip, his face buried in my neck, and on the back in black ink. "This is not your place." I lay it on Ethan's desk and say, "Still think it was just a bad night." His jaw locks. He brings in Detective Hart, a guy who doesn't care how big your driveway is, and Hart pulls footage, server logs, everything. He finds tiny mics in Leo's vent, and a hallway sconce finds late-night logins into the Hale Foundation accounts, routing money to an off-book company, and suddenly, it's clear someone inside used that cold room, that snap judgment, as cover. Security tightens for real new codes, outside guards, but you know paranoia when you feel it. One night at 3:30 a.m., an alarm pings by the side garage. I run with a guard, and we catch a hooded figure at the cabinet, with Leo's routines, the kind of thing you steal if you're planning to get to a child clean. I shout, he bolts. I grab his sleeve, rip off a chunk of expensive fabric before he slams into me and vanishes over the fence. Lab ties that fabric to a custom suit paid by the same shell company. Hart goes back through the house machines, and the trail lands on a name no one wants to see, Daniel Price, the family accountant. The soft-voiced man who's been around forever brought Leo carved toys, remembered everyone's birthday. Ethan stares like his whole spine just dropped. We sit Daniel down in the study, Hart on one side, Ethan on the other. "Tell me this isn't you," Ethan says. Daniel exhales, drops the nice act, and says, "You let the help blur lines, Ethan. People talk. Investors worry. We had to protect what Eleanor built from people who don't belong in the inner circle." His eyes flick to me. There it is in plain English. "You bugged a child's room and put him at risk because you didn't like who he reached for." I say, "That's your loyalty." He says nothing. Hart cuffs him. Between Daniel's files and the fixer trail, the feds build a case, charges for fraud, unlawful surveillance, conspiracy, all the things no one guessed were hiding behind those perfect hedges, and suddenly, the girl he almost fired is the one everyone thanks outside the courthouse. On the stand, they ask me why I went into Leo's room without permission, why I didn't wait, why I stayed working for a man who grabbed me and called security on me. And I tell them because he was freezing, and I was there because waiting would have killed him. Because when the truth came out, Ethan didn't bury it to save face, he burned his own comfort before he'd let them paint me as the villain. And that kid still needed someone who doesn't run when it gets ugly. And the jury hears it, The judge hammers it and the men in suits go away. Back at Hale Ridge, things get smaller and truer. Leo's got tutors who see him not just his file security that finally reports problems instead of hiding them. My room stays next to his, and one morning, he tugs my sleeve over cereal and says, "Cam, you're not leaving, right?" Like he's asking whether the sun's staying up. "I'm here if you want me," I tell him, and he nods. "Good. You're warm," and goes back to coloring whales. A little later, Ethan steps out on the porch where I'm watching Leo run in the yard and says quietly, "Audience, I'm sorry, Camille, for that night, for choosing the worst story about you." I let it sit, then say, "You were wrong. You saw me on that floor and decided I was a threat instead of asking one question. That doesn't disappear because we survived it." He nods, no excuses this time. "I know. I'm trying to be the man my son thinks I am when he reaches for me now. That starts with believing the people who show up. It's not some scripted redemption. It's a man doing the work in front of the person he hurt. People always want to know if we ended up together, like the only way to swallow a powerful man respecting a black woman who cleans his house is to make it a love story. But the version that matters is this: he put his name and money on record saying, I was right, and they were wrong. He trusts me with the room next to his son, and he knows if he ever slides back into that blind, scared reflex, I'll be the one standing in his doorway saying, not again. So now it's your turn. Was Ethan redeemed, or did he just finally do what any decent father should? Would you have stayed in that house after what he did? Who do you think is more dangerous in stories like this? The stranger at the gate, or the Daniels and Merediths on the inside who fit so well, no one checks them? And how many times have people like me been blamed first and thanked last, while the real threat wore a nice suit? Tell me in the comments what you think. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me if you've seen this kind of thing up close, because I'm still here, still listening. And I know one thing for sure now. I belong in any room I walk into to save a child, whether the owner figures it out fast or learns it the hard way.